In this review for the final exam, I'm not telling you exactly what's on the exam, but I am going to give you some topics that you should include in your study plans. So although I'm not telling you what's on the exam, I will say that if you include these topics in your studying, you will benefit from the effort. We studied the meaning of the target market. Make sure you can recognize an example of a target market given a certain scenario. We also studied the marketing mix. Make sure you understand this term and can recognize the different elements in the marketing mix. Understand the meaning of value and how consumers evaluate value from a marketing standpoint. Also study the strategic planning process and developing the mission and goals or objectives. Take a look at customer relationship management, including relationship marketing and customer lifetime value. Study the Sherman Antitrust Act. This is a famous pro-competitive law, and also study the U.S. Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and what this act prohibits. All of the variables in the marketing mix could involve ethical decisions, so be able to recognize situations where certain parts of the marketing mix are involved with ethical decision situations. Ethical decisions are influenced by three forces. Study these three forces. We also studied several different theories of ethics, so review those different theories. We talked about marketing research and how you determine the true value of marketing research. Also, when we studied marketing research, we talked about hypotheses. So what exactly is a hypothesis in marketing research? And what exactly is exploratory research? We talked about the marketing research process. Understand the various steps in this process. Also, understand market segmentation and three different targeting strategies. We studied the types of consumer decision-making, such as routinized response behavior or limited decision-making. We looked at the levels of involvement in consumer decision-making. Also in consumer decision-making, understand what evaluative criteria are. And take a look at the post-purchase evaluation stage of consumer decision-making. When we studied business-to-business markets, we talked about different types of B2B markets. When we talked about global trade, we talked about the World Trade Organization, so be familiar with this. We also talked about the modes of entry into international markets, such as importing or direct ownership. We talked about trade barriers. Understand tariffs, quotas, and embargoes, and recognize examples of these. When we studied online marketing, we talked about the characteristics of online media, such as interactivity and addressability and others. Also be familiar with ethical and legal issues in online marketing, such as intellectual property and the privacy protection. We looked at the product element in the marketing mix. So understand the definition of a product and different types of consumer and business products. Understand the product mix and the product life cycle. We looked at the product development process, the process of developing new products. What is the first stage and the second stage and so forth. We looked at services as a type of product. Understand the unique characteristics of services such as perishability, intangibility, and others. When we studied channels and supply chains, we talked about vertical marketing systems. We talked about the intensity of market coverage, such as selective distribution. We also talked about retailing and wholesaling, different types of retailers and wholesalers, advantages and disadvantages of franchising. When we studied communication, we talked about the communication process and integrated marketing communications. Understand what that means. Also, we looked at the stages in the development of an advertising campaign and some possible goals of advertising. We looked at the stages in the personal selling process, such as prospecting, closing the sale, and others. Understand different types of salespeople and different types of selling jobs. When we studied pricing, we covered the various types of costs, such as average variable cost, marginal cost, and so forth. We studied break-even points and how to calculate break-even points. We also discussed demand curves. We covered pricing strategy, including price lining, reference pricing, bundle pricing, and premium pricing. In closing, this review is not a comprehensive list of topics that will guarantee you a perfect grade on the exam, but I do promise you that you will benefit if you make sure your study plans include these topics. Thanks for working hard this semester and coping with a difficult situation caused by the pandemic. I've enjoyed teaching the class. Study hard for the exam, and best of luck.